Hello, and welcome to February's monthly read with January's cards and channeling meetup. If you're on my Patreon at the $10 level, where I pull a card for you once a month after I do the spread for the monthly read, which everybody gets at the $5 level on my Patreon, or like a month after the fact on YouTube. Yeah. Okay. So let's now ready everything. I didn't think to do ahead of time for whatever reason. Okay. What is nice pendulum? If you're coming to this the first time through YouTube, my name is Sonia Stell, also called the Word Witch. I am a soothsayer, which means I'm a truth teller. I'm claircognizant, which means I have clear knowing. And I am a card reader, both tarot and, well, not both, tarot, oracle, playing cards, whatever it may be. So we're going to see what deck wants to be chosen, because when I do card reading, I allow the deck to choose the client or the reciprocant, let me put it that way, less business, there's my pencil. Less business-wise. So, and also we have a new spread, right? Which I learned that we now have a 6-card spread. We used to have Koa in the key, 4 cards, and sometimes 5 if we had both key cards, either the Skelton Key or the Keystone. And now we have 6 cards. We have the Speak column, the Listen column, and then the Skeleton Key and the Keystone cards that we read horizontally. We read the columns vertically. So let's see who wants to be read for February. Okay, Manzel Bowman's Tarot. And key card, key card, key card. Key card. No, key card. Great. Ooh, tarot on tarot for the, oops. Those are the shapes of some of my deck books, no lie. So we have 2 tarot decks, both for the Speak column, the Listen column, and for the key cards. And we have those different columns with 2 different tarot decks, which means that some tarot cards may repeat themselves. They may repeat themselves. They may say, I said, etc. So I just assumed this was kind of columns and okay. So what do we most need to know for February? What is necessary to know on the Speak side? Okay, on the Speak side. Okay. And on the Listen side, according to Manzel Bowman's Tarot. And okay, done. The cards are turned over. It's a mystery for us all at the moment. And then last but not least, our key cards from the Melanated Classic Tarot. So, let's see. What is the Skeleton Key and what is the Keystone? What is the Skeleton Key and what is the Keystone? Let's see who most, the one on the bottom. These 2. Okay. Great. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to give this a timer. now that I'm on my phone for the better quality and hopefully the better sound, because last time my sound was so bad, I apologize. I'm getting a mic. I'm like updating to this era. But yeah, I think it has to do with my headphones. It kind of feels like it's muffled or something. So ideally this is better and you can hear me better. And obviously we'll be able to tell after the fact. I don't know now. I'm in here at the moment. Solo dolo. Okay, let's get into it. The speak column, we have the Queen of Pentacles. And we have the Tower. Lord, 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 Lord. Okay, sorry. That's the dog. That's the pitter patter of the dog back there. Okay. So, the Queen of Pentacles is about structural, foundational, sustaining support, right? My little thing that I do is for my court cards is I have created narratives for them. So if we're building a house, the Queen of Swords is the architect, the Queen of Wands is the contractor, the Queen of Pentacles is construction, right? And the Queen of Cups is the interior designer. Excuse me. If we are throwing a party, Queen of Swords gathers the other queens to create the invite list. The Queen of Wands sends out the invite list and is at the door ensuring the right people get in. The Queen of Pentacles is in the kitchen, making sure everyone is fed and libated to their dietary needs. And the Queen of Cups is the hostess with the mostest. So I always like to say that the Queen of Swords and the Queen of Pentacles typically like to be early to show, early to leave, right? Isn't it called what, like the German goodbye, where you just sort of fade out and you don't say anything? So they can do that, but they also commit to the sustaining of the structure, the reality of the circumstances, right? Swords being in the planning, but Pentacles being in the actual sustaining, right? In terms of the building, making the structure that you live in that provides you shelter and warmth and a sense of home and family or whatever else might be relevant for you to have in a home to you. The dog is licking the floor. And also in terms of hosting an event, I don't know, I'm Afro-Caribbean, Afro-Indigenous, Afro-diasporic in multiple ways. And you feed people. You feed people and you provide them with nourishment when you host things. And so to feed people and to provide them with drinks that are relevant to them or tasty or well-made or considerate or whatever it may be, because it's mostly about actually doing the work of providing and also intention to do so, and also the labor of that is involved in the realization of creating from intention to whatever materialized reality that this person can do with the work and with who they're working with. And then, but that is something that allows for the sustaining of the event, right? Because people don't need to leave in order to give themselves nourishment that gives them energy or that gives them, comfort, or that gives them, makes them feel welcome or whatever else other things it does. It can create nostalgia, depending on what the food is or the drink is, right? There's all this cultural meaning in meal sharing, right? I always, one of the things I like the best about the word Lord, right? Because I'm called the word witch, right? One of the things I like best about the word Lord is that its root means the bringer of the bread, right? So like it's not gender specific. It has nothing to do with any sort of commonly thought in this, late stage capitalist, supremacy, ideationist, white society, patriarchal culture, right? It's the Lord is the one that brings the bread, right? The one that brings something that nourishes the place that they are visiting, whether that be home or hearth or whatever, like in the park having a meal. So this is someone who is thoughtful, for the community and for the group, right? And ideally, you know, I would say we all have the tarot deck in us, right? Like we all start with the Fool, and where it goes from there is individual to each of us. And so, you know, not only the Queen of Pentacles as someone who is in your environment who may represent this or the need for this in your environment, but also how you participate in this way in your environment and like what you do that allows for this, for the community to be sustained, whatever that community may be to you, right? And then, speaking of whatever that community may be to you, not the Tower coming through to be like, hold up, wait a minute, right? Because one major arcana, this is the speak side too. One major arcana. So I say spiritual purpose, existential purpose, existence. Why did you include me? You know, like, why did I win the sperm race? Like, what is this? And who am I is an intellectual question. I typically say that belongs to the swords, right? But who, what, when, where, why, and how, and like who, and like just the perpetuating existential wonder. Okay, that's major arcana. And then, you know, the Tower is a necessary watershed moment, right? Like a necessary moment where something spills out, right? Something bubbles over, something becomes more noticeable, right? Like it takes up more it takes up more like intellectual, imaginal real estate in the mind. And and also, of course, it being that way, when something happens that creates a ego death, an existential crisis, a facing of something that you know, the proverbial you hasn't had and is not imagined or did not think would take place or would happen or was happening. And that isn't what you were doing in the context of what ends up going down, right? Like, like everybody who's a citizen of the United States. But the Tower moment is also something showing its dysfunction, and something showing its inability to support and sustain, and its inability to support and sustain is a projection of not being able to do that some way for yourself personally. Because like, how can you be involved in something that you aren't first doing yourself? There has to be a self to be involved, right? So let's get a little insight though, because that's the speak side, like something coming to light, something being apparent, and that can be in any kind of way, right? Time will tell, essentially, and timelessness will also tell, because the Tower is you know, existence is an infinite thing. Its time is subject to the infinite. The finite is not subject, like the infinite is not subject to the finite, right? And then on the listen side, I'm just going to see if the cards want to change. On the listen side, we have the Wheel of Fortune and Two of Pentacles. Okay. And I even forgot to say with the Queen of Pentacles. So let me just, I mean, I'll get to it. But what the Suit of Pentacles is about doing the work, putting in the labor of embodying the behavior and the environment and the climate and the selfnesshood that you claim is yourself, right? That Wheel of Fortune though, so listens, major arcana up, Pentacles down, and speak is Pentacles up and major arcana down. And so with this Wheel of Fortune, I say the Wheel of Fortune isn't just two-dimensional, right? It's not like a Ferris wheel. It's a marble. It's a it's a sphere. It's an infinite multidimensional sphere. It can roll forwards and backwards, but it also can, or should I say right or left. It can roll right or left. It can move forwards or backwards. It can go diagonally. It can go up. It can go down. It can go around, right? Like it's not subject to one plane of experience, right? And that means that it applies to everything. So the Wheel of Fortune, of course, we can say, yes, what goes up must come down. But we can also just say that it's everything up and down is a part of the reality of existence. I say this in my essay from, I think, end of November, beginning of December, called Hypocrisy Matters on Substack. And I say this in a zine I contributed writing to on about liberation. That's funding money for Palestine and Palestine like not charities, but funding mutual aid. And essentially freedom, which means, the etymology of free meaning to love, right? So to love, right? Like unconditional love. Love with regardless of condition, without condition, where condition has no bearing, right? So that kind of love, that kind of freeness, freedom, right? That has to include what is not only what could be considered negative for people outside of the individual or the individual circumstance, but what ultimately would be negative for the individual and the individual circumstance, simply because it isolates and therefore creates less possibility of sustainability, if that's the intention, right? So much of oppression is about existential fear and dread about there not being an ability to survive, or there not being enough, or enough support, enough possibility, enough resources, enough reality to support everything that's within it. So when I see the Wheel of Fortune, to me, it's like any choice that you make, existence is going to support, in the way that existence has already supported every choice you've already made, the ones that you still can relate to and the ones that you can't relate to, right? It's with you unconditionally. So that Wheel of Fortune is like, yeah, it's not about controlling what is. It's about embodying what you claim should be, or ultimately is, but is being somehow subverted, or is, period, right? You embody what is, and in embodying what is, existence is holding space for that, regardless of whether you're the only person who cares about that thing or not. Other people are similarly connected to existence and are also equally supported in their discovery of what it is they prefer and don't prefer, and what it is that they think should and shouldn't be, right? Existence is allowing you to believe all the should and shouldn'ts, to change your mind, to figure out something completely different, and everybody hello. And everybody has the opportunity to have that reality. So in having the Wheel of Fortune up on the listen side, it's like, also understand that there's more support in being in the polarity that you prefer to be in, as often as you actually have any influence or control about your experience or how you respond to your experience, than it is to act shocked or even hooked by the fact that the things you don't prefer exist, right? If the Wheel of Fortune is saying all these things, there's up, there's down, right? There's every state of being along the wheel, along the spectrum. So where do you want to be on that spectrum? Which is your designation, right? It's where you exist from. It's your coordinates. And then this Two of Pentacles too is like, all right, are you don't like, and trusting this, right? And in living in this, you're also having the experience of, okay, whether I preferred what occurred or not, or what is occurring or not, what is it telling me about myself, and how does that affect, change, influence, um, or or define what I need to do next, right, for myself, obviously. And then with the Two of Pentacles too, it's ideally that we don't miss opportunities that allow for the possibility of more expression and embodiment of this in a way where it's not about other people and what they do, but it's about the individual having and trusting in their own experience. But let's not forget that the Sphinx side is still the Queen of Pentacles and the Tower for February. And, you know, to me, Queen of Pentacles is also about like planning, you know, planning. So everybody, the Queen of Pentacles is about planning, and it's about planning for not just yourself, but the community, and planning for what you agree. Planning for what you agree to do, okay? Because it's the foundation, right? Like in my story that I like to say that if we're building a house, the Queen of Pentacles is construction. Like you can't pretend you did that. And when you do a shoddy job, it shows itself very quickly, right? And the same is true of the dynamic where the Queen of Pentacles is in the kitchen, making sure everyone's fed and libated to their dietary needs, right? Like that requires planning. If you actually haven't gotten enough or planned enough, that will show in timing and in what you've created, right? Or what you share with the group. Then the Tower, inevitably, if you didn't put the time and the work in, then the foundation is not strong, so it falls. And then on the listen side, we still have that Wheel of Fortune. Like use the fall, use what you don't prefer in a way you do prefer, so you still get the benefit out of it. And you know, I call it the BBBs, the boohoo bitch blues. Like I give myself like 24 to 48 hours to be like, oh man, yeah, me just be in my bed and stuff. And then I like have to get over myself. I have to go through the ego death and recognize it isn't what I imagined it was, right? And that's also a Tower moment. Is it what you imagine, or is what it is? And then that Two of Pentacles, again, use every opportunity, because right now energy is accumulating one way or the other. Some people are spiraling and down, and some people are spiraling up. It's not that any are positive or negative. They all exist. It's more about where you actually want to occupy, what space you actually want to occupy, what makes you useful, happy, present, connected, joyous, you know, those things. Last but not least, we have the key cards, Skelton Key and the Keystone. Neither are changing, but both came from the Melanated Tarot. So the tarot is speaking through this February reading. It's all tarot. And we have, that Eight of Cups. This is the Skelton Key, the thing that unlocks all the doors, letting go. And do I sound okay, by the way, or is my sound shit? Please let me know so that I'm not repeating the mistakes of my past. Put it in the chat. Yeah, okay, great. Okay, sweet. Yeah, I just took off. Yes, wonderful. I took out my headphones. Like they were sabotaging me. But I'm getting a mic. I'm upping my game. Okay. So Skelton Key, Eight of Cups, the key that unlocks all the doors, that assists us in getting through what we need to get through, right? And then the Keystone, the King of Pentacles, not the King and the Queen, saying, "What did you do to work, though? But what do you have to show for it? But you said you did it." Talking to myself in certain ways where I'm like, but you know, King of Pentacles as of course, the keystone, the thing that holds the building together, Ledur. He is the building. But with that Eight of Cups, one, it's when you get over the boohoo bitch blues, right? Because at the Seven of Cups, you were like, choices or whatever. And then you chose the choice that you chose. So like, if it wasn't what you thought it was, AKA the Tower moment, then what is it? And what is that telling you about what you imagine, now what you know, and also, frankly, really what you prefer, which is your existential homework and your business to mind. Regardless of who you have to influence, you won't answer for them. You will answer for yourself, and what you believe you had to sacrifice about yourself for anyone to do anything, right? Like, and also what you think yourself is, honestly, because that cups is emotional intelligence. And I was thinking, beyond the 5 steps of emotional intelligence, you feel away because you're a human being and it comes with the packaging. You recognize you feel away because you're not going to gaslight yourself. You're the only person in there. You have to validate your own feelings. Step number 3, recognizing you feel away. You think back on your personal history and you consider the people, places, things, locations, behaviors that you were involved in or around the last time you felt that way, if you've ever felt that way. Step 4, most important step, you look in the mirror or you point at yourself between the eyes and you say, do the me of now, do I like feeling this way? And then you answer the question, because step 5 is you have to take an action, right? Now, emotional intelligence is about responding in a way that allows you to get the most out of how you prefer to feel in your, obviously limited to what you have in your fucking emotional toolbox, right? But emotional intelligence, just like denial, is like a closed loop system. Once you start becoming aware of it, you recognize what the value is. Until you have that for yourself, it doesn't mean much because you won't have the maturity to have the container to even recognize that that's what's happening, right? You're going to think somebody's doing something petty and you're recognizing, oh, they were trying to tell me some shit, So that happens. But the King of Pentacles is also right, as the keystone is also like, but at the end of the day, your existential homework is to embody what you claim you are. And so long as you're doing that, even if you don't get everything you thought you wanted based on ideas of who you imagined you were at the time, ultimately, if you are who you say you are and you are doing and being and embodying that, then everything must be happening according to how it needs or must happen based on the fact that who the fuck else would you be? And like, what else can you do but be yourself, right? And then once you've done that to the best of your ability, obviously, because that's all that can be asked of you anyhow, you find out what that is, which is also Pentacles, right? Like it's living through osmosis. It's the physicalized experience. Of course, it's the body where all of our lived perception is filtered through our physical experience, right? In our incorporeal bodies. But it's also the body of the environment, like the place you live, the time you live, where you live, the kind of building, the kind of community, blur, blur, blur. That's all Pentacles too, in the sense that without the landscape, there's no community. If they have nowhere to live on or nothing to live on, then they don't exist. So the King of Pentacles is also like, as long as you're doing what you said you are and need to be doing, then there's nothing to actually resent because you are on task. It's not your job to decide how other people act. Because again, when I went back to the Tower, freedom is to love unconditionally, right? So like, it's not to love people who act right all the time, and it's not to love because you only can act right. It's to love because it is what is for you, right? Now, existentially, obviously that's true because existence included all this motherfuckers in it. And we witness existence fighting existence, okay? Existence, killing existence, existence arguing with existence, existence arguing with itself. And, and because that's a part of the experience, it's important to first understand what a self is and then understand what your self is and then maneuver yourself in the way that you claim you should be able to exist. See if existence affirms, allows, denies, right? Allows through positive synchronicity, Yes, affirms, sorry. Affirms through positive synchronicity, allows through neutral synchronicity, denies through negative synchronicity. And that will tell you if you're in right timing too, because, excuse me, the Wheel of Fortune is also about right timing, right? Like, is it in season or not, motherfucker? Like, is it showing up or not? You know, and if it's not, let that inform you, right? Let that be a lesson to you. And that's also very King of Pentacles. So, oh, thank you, Otter. Okay, great. Thank you. Not Otter telling my business though. Not my AI telling all like about like my plan and shit. Just log off, motherfucker. Thank you. But the King of Pentacles is there to say, you know, the keystone, the thing that's holding your life together is your behavior. It's how you conduct yourself. It's the reality that you exist from. It's how you allow yourself to move in whatever reality you think you're in. And then the Skelton Key is when you recognize you're in some fucked reality that you don't want to be in. That means that you have to embody yourself differently so that you're perceiving that reality from a place that is much less affected. And one of my teachers who passed, old teachers who passed in 2012, called it shifting your perceptual apparatus. And to shift your perceptual apparatus can happen in a number of ways, right? You can do it intentionally. You can do it through meditation. You can do it through taking drugs. You can do it through having an event happen, like an event happening in your life that is irreversible and that like you can never know yourself differently. So the irreversible discontinuity is like, okay, that is a reality that I cannot pretend doesn't exist for me, right? Or no longer exists for me. So let's see. February's reading to me overall is like 3 Pentacles, 2 Major Arcana, 1 Cups, like no wands, no swords, which makes sense because really there's a lot of air and fire energy, really honestly. And also a lot of people reacting to what they imagine everyone's going to do, you know, it's giving Minority Report. It just always makes me think of the comedy where he's like, The Last Samurai starring Tom Cruise. But also Minority Report starring Tom Cruise. And also just appreciate the tower is real. So whether there's no like acting like the building can still be hospitable to anybody if it's in shambles, and anyone who's going to pretend that is going to look delusional, right? So we're entering into, you know, not only the age of the oligarchs, or you know, whatever, we are obviously entered, we're in the age of the oligarchs, but also we're in the age of like the emperor has no clothes, you know, like when foolery does what it's supposed to do, which is fools you either for better or for worse, right? And you know what inspired me to say this before I go into the readings for individuals for the Doing the Most group? I'm rewatching Charmed, both Charmed side by side, and there's an episode where this demon makes a deal with a human being to give them something they want, you know, eternal life, beauty, riches, whatever, for their firstborn child. But what it meant in the context of the episode was that this demon posed as a woman in this case and married the child. Also, if it was a different gender, they would pose as whatever gender that person was attracted to, marry the child, and then have a baby by that child and then just like disappear. So I was like, you know what? Like Rumpelstiltskin didn't have to die necessarily. Like having your first child might be like as an apprentice, my G. Or it could be like as this, something more explicit, as opposed to thinking it's, you know, just one dimensional or just ill. Even if somebody intends ill for you, they have no control over what you do with their behavior to embody yourself. That was another one of the dogs. To embody the self that you most prefer, or to do in the world what it motivates you to do in the world. And that's that on that. So moving on to the individual polls. Obviously, I will pull those who aren't here's polls, but since those are who are here, I'm happy to read you first. So I'll do it in the order that you arrived. I think you arrived first. India, so do you want to lay of the land, or you have a question or something else? You can put it in the question box. And also, I'm going to say bye to everybody who just does the monthly read. Yes, cool. You got it. Thank you for being for the monthly read. Hopefully my audio quality is not as garbage as it's been in the past few transmissions. My apologia. And I will be getting a mic, and I will be just, acting like I know some things, technologically speaking. Again, on our speak column, Queen of Pentacles, the Tower. On our listen column, Wheel of Fortune, Two of Pentacles. Our skeleton key is the Eight of Cups.